What's up guys, Justin Morgan here, Carved Up Vegan Muscle, and in that last video that I made I was talking about squatting to a daily basis and setting goals for yourself in terms of both what you're doing and your back offsets and that kind of thing. It was basically like a guideline for the back offsets or for volume work and that kind of thing. And in that video I mentioned that I have periods where I do hypertrophy work, where I do strength work, and right now I'm specifically working on 1 rep max strength. So in doing that, I kind of want to step back away from that for a second and talk about the strength and the hypertrophy work. Now, when I do those, I do not squat up to a max. I only do the maxing during certain parts of the year. I do, however, squat to a day squat every day or squat 5 days a week. Usually, when I say every day, I really just mean 5 days a week. Saturdays, I usually deadlift and do some overhead pressing and things like that. If I were training for a strongman event, which I also do, then I would probably do a lot more overhead pressing, a lot less bench pressing. But right now, it's powerlifting, so I'm doing a lot of bench pressing. Probably more than I like, because I'm really not that big of a fan of the bench press. I just don't like the lift. I don't enjoy watching it. I don't really enjoy training it that much. But it's part of powerlifting, so it's just part of the sport. You know, I love to squat. That's my favorite lift. And then the deadlift is pretty cool too. I like the deadlift. So if I got a bench press to do well with those other events too, then so be it. That's fine. Anyway, so this video I wanted to talk about some diagnostic type things, or in dietetics when I do working in the field of dietetics, we have diagnostic tools. So that's what I call them. But in this case, it's really just an app I want to kind of tell you guys about. But I want to tell you how I use it, because it's very useful for me. What I do is that I kind of set a goal, and at first, at least, when I'm doing doing higher rep work, I'll set a goal for I'm going to do X amount of weight for a set of 10. And so when I work up to this, we'll say 315 pounds. When I'm doing volume work or sets of 8, 10, and 12, usually I'll use not the competition movements. I kind of save those for, so instead of doing the competition movements, normally I squat low bar in competition or do a low bar squat. I actually have a video that I haven't posted yet about that, but low bar versus high bar, that is. But I will squat low bar in competition, so when I do a lot of these higher rep work, I'll go ahead and move to high bar for that. And really, I kind of prefer the high bar squat. I like it. I can squat a little bit more on the low bar, but I prefer to squat high bar. It's my my favorite way to squat. Or I'll do front squats, or I can do Zercher squats, or I can do paused variations of the squat, and I can do a beltless squat instead of just squatting with a belt high bar. I can do beltless high bar squatting. So that would be that's 5 different variations right there of the squat that I can do. So I'll do maybe all of those variations. The further out I am away from a competition, the more variations that I have of the lifts that I kind of work in. And I'll say maybe if I'm doing a high bar squat with a belt, I think the last thing that I did for that was 315 pounds. It was back maybe a month or so ago. And so what I would say is I worked up to 315 pounds this week on the squat for a set of 10, and I would rate that set of that 10th rep. So if I got to my 10th rep and man, that was really hard, but I probably could have still done another rep. We'll call that an RPE of 9. That's kind of the way that usually, or the RPE system is usually used. Well, ideally, the following week when I go down to doing sets of 8, I should be stronger. So I'll use this app, MyWOD. It's this little red one here. I think it's a CrossFit type app, but I don't do CrossFit, but I still use the app. It's really useful. Some of the people that I used to coach in Olympic weightlifting showed it to me, and I found it to be really useful. So I'll go to the movements part. It's right there in the middle. It has the little kettlebell, and they have a calculator up here. And if I press this calculator, I can gauge the intensity. So see if that'll zoom in on that. There it goes. So if I can put in the weight, and I can put in the number of reps that I did, and it will tell me the information about how it was gauged. So if I did it for an RPE of 9, then ideally the next week I'm going to be stronger, and I take that into account. So I don't say 315 for 9, I say 320 for 9. And because I don't want to know the intensity of for a set of 8 that I did at 320 or at 315, I want to know it for 320 because I'm wanting to be stronger the next week. So I'd say I did 320 for 10. And then you'll get all these rep maxes. So 1 rep max, 2 rep max, 3 rep max. And I'll go down to 8 rep max, and you can see it's 344 pounds. You can also set it so it rounds it to the nearest 5 if you want, and that's convenient. If it says 8 rep max, I'll go to 345, so 345 pounds. So the following week, instead of when I'm doing sets of 8 instead of sets of 10, then I will say, okay, so now I'm going to do 345 pounds for a set of 8 and gauge the RPE on that. So that's how I do it from week to week to week when I'm kind of gauging what the following week goals are when I'm doing different rep ranges. So the week 1 of I might do all my squats for sets of 12. And that will be, they're all different, so there's an aspect of undulating periodization in there because all of the movements are different. There's different intensities with each movement. And usually I set it up so the lighter stuff, like, the front squats and the pause squats are towards the beginning of the week, and then I might go to beltless in the middle of the week, and then I get to like the heavier stuff towards the end of the week. So I do just the whole week that way. It's like having undulating periodization or daily undulating periodization where there's different things. That's not exactly how it's been set up before, but that's how I do it, and that's that's how I integrate that type of thing into my training. So those are just some ideas for you guys. I do recommend that app if you do like this type of training where you have to gauge different types of things. And I find it to be very useful in the people that I work with or that I coach, with Team Kuga or Carved Up Gladiators Arena. I have to gauge what their lifts are going to be the following week, and I have to take into consideration what their RPE is, and I take into consideration if I'm doing variations of the movement. So I might ask, like my wife right now, she added in a belt. So, I need to add a little bit of intensity to what she's doing. So I take a certain amount of percentage that I'm going to add to that. And I try to be conservative with it because if she goes really light, then the only downside is that she feels really confident. So there is no downside. It just allows us to move up more the next week. If I go too heavy, though, then 1, it can hurt her confidence, and 2, it can fatigue her more than I really want her to be fatigued in the program right now. So those are, all considerations. And then it can go the other way, too. I might, need to pick weights that are lighter because I might move them from doing a front squat for a hypertrophy movement in the strength block, which we're in right now, to doing a pause front squat. So I need to take more weight off. Now, that app does not consider those things. I need to consider those things, but I can use that app as a diagnostic tool to consider the intensities that I'm putting them under. So those are just a few ideas. That might have gone a little bit deeper than maybe what some people would prefer to hear, but hopefully you guys found that to be informative. So you guys take it easy. I'll talk to you next time. Remember to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Take it easy.